So we did flooring today. I actually missed our flooring day last build. So everything for me was new learning and there wasn't a lot of relearning.
And I relearned just the basic procedures for installing this type of flooring, how to make sure it's properly aligned, how to hammer it in so that things are going to line up properly, and making sure that your first couple rows are solid, because the rest, if there's any issues with those, then the rest of your floor is going to be messed up.
I think some of the techniques Corey came in and showed us, we didn't get too far, but we were struggling a little bit, wasted a little bit of time just trying to line up some pieces. And he showed us how to kind of slide them to clean the dirt out and align them. So that would have been helpful first thing when we started, but we got that a couple minutes in, so it helped with the rest of the floor. That was key.
Yeah. That little trick he showed us with sliding that piece underneath this door, so you can make it nice and clean before you cut it off with your oscillator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had some, I don't know if they were quite mistakes, we had some challenges figuring out what the right tools were to cut the flooring. It's really easy to cut it with the knife, but when you have square cuts, or as we're working around some of this cabinetry shape or that hallway, we tried an oscillating tool. We're having a lot of vibration. We tried a handsaw, and that actually increased the vibration and the piece shattered. So we had a little R&D on finding just the exact technique. Ended up that actually the knife is the best option, and you just have to use enough pressure and score it hard enough and kind of break it carefully.
Yeah, I would say if you have small pieces that are going to be at the end or under a tight spot, you can put them together beforehand, and so that way you have access to hit it in without trying to, you can just hit it in better.
Yeah, so you put 2 or 3 pieces together lengthwise,
yeah,
right? And then slide them in and lock them into place. And clean. That would be my biggest advice. I don't know how many times I swept and vacuumed and we're still just have clouds of dust. Even as you're working, you're going to get debris from the flooring itself. You could see, look, even though we cleaned, there's drywall falling out of people's shoes. Maybe it was my shoes, maybe it was Jasper's, I don't know. As soon as people walk into your build or walk out of it, they're leaving all kinds of dust and debris. That's really going to make your floor be uneven. So clean before you start, maybe clean twice. And then even as you're going, we were sweeping and vacuuming in real time the whole time we were cleaning, just to make sure that we kept it really smooth. Good morning, everyone. I think JC is not feeling well, but that brings to mind something that I wanted to just mention to everyone about taking care of yourself. So what we're doing here and what we're going to be trying to do in the next 5 weeks is really intense. It's very physically demanding. It's very mentally demanding. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Take your vitamins. It's cold and flu season. We do not want all that passing around here. That's just going to slow us down. I don't want your germs. And I don't want to get sick, so everybody take your vitamin C, keep the sugar to a minimum, maybe watch out on those energy drinks. Those are not super good for you. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Put your feet up when you get home. Make sure you're taking care of your body. Stretch, rest, get enough sleep on the weekends, recharge, and just take care of yourself so you can we can get through to the finish line here. What we're going to work on today, since I'm a single person team today, is we're going to do the floor, and we're going to finish up some of the electrical work, the trim work that I started yesterday, and we're also going to do a little bit of our plumbing and the sink connection. So we'll get our valves on over here under the sink and get that set up so that when we come back with JC next time, we'll do our countertops and finish out the trim, and that should wrap up our build. So for our flooring today, we're going to need a few tools, not that many. It's a really simple list. You'll definitely need a measuring tape. You will want a pencil for marking some of your more complicated cuts. You'll just need your regular utility knife to make the cuts. A square helps you keep things nice and square. And we're using a couple mallets. The white mallet actually came from the tool room, and this one is good to use near walls where it won't leave black scuff marks. But for all else, you can just use your regular mallet. All right, guys, so right now we are going to put on our valves under the sink for the hot and cold water. So I've done one just as a practice to make sure I knew what I was talking about, and we are going to do the other one together. So the first thing we got to do is get this sticker cleaned off, and I'm pretty sure everyone's got these stickers on their copper. The reason we need to get this off is because, let's see, it's going to actually interfere with the connection and you won't have a good seal, and eventually that could cause a leak. So you just want to scrape it off with your knife. If you use an actual, like a knife blade or a razor blade, you might cut into the copper. So I'm just using this as it's not sharp enough to damage it. And you just need to get it back. We're going to put our valves about 2 inches up, but I want to get the whole sticker off because it's going to be unsightly as well. You're also going to want to knock off any extra little pieces of drywall that are sticking out, because when we put the flange on, it may not lay flush. Let's give that one final little cleanup. Is get our flange out. This very securely packaged item. And this is going to have teeth on it, so you might feel a little resistance, but just going to want to use firm pressure. So next thing we're going to do is get a pipe cutter, and you're going to need to get one of these from the tool room. You want to get this smaller version. The larger pipe cutter, you will need one of these as well, but it is a little bit too long, so you're going to see if you try to cut this pipe, it's going to hit your drain pipe. So we'll use this instead. So we're going to go about 2 inches out from the wall. And it doesn't have to be super precise, but you want to be as close as possible. Let's see, get this open. Am I opening it or closing it? So put that on there. Line it up. And now that I've put this flange on there, it's a little hard to tell. Right there. Okay. So you're going to tighten it just enough that it's firmly grasping it, but not enough to dent the pipe. And then you'll just kind of tighten and turn. Keep going until it comes off. Almost there. All right. So that's that. All right, so you're gonna get this deburring tool and get that little lip out. There's like, you can see some copper chunks kind of flying out here. So you're gonna smooth this lip out so that it doesn't cause any issues with water flow. And then you can get a screwdriver. There are some little metal chunks. Edgar, I don't know if you can come this way, if you can see them. But there's some little metal chunks in there. So you're just gonna use this to try to pull them out. You don't want those to stay in there. It'll cause issues. Once you turn the water on, it's going to go straight up into the faucet and get stuck there. And eventually, over time, accumulate with water deposits and cause flow issues. So we're going to get our valve. And this is going to turn the water on and off. So we have it on here. It's got 3 parts to it. So you have your nut that's going to go on first. You want to make sure that you are putting the smooth side to the back, and that you have your screw side, the side that connects to the valve to the front. You're going to push that all the way back. Then we have our, remind me? Ferrule, which will be compressed inside, and then it will expand as it's compressed to form a seal, and then finally the valve itself. So we push that in all the way to the end until the copper hits, and we're going to pull this. And first we will hand tighten as far as we can, and then we'll use our adjustable wrenches to complete that work. You may need to readjust my position, but we'll get it. You want to get your crescent wrench on there as tight as you can. And that's going to be holding. Actually, I'm going to turn this around so I can hold it better the other way. And then we'll put this one back here.
So you're going to have 2 opposing turns?
Yes, so we're going to turn them against each other. So the goal is to keep this valve with the connection for the water line straight up. And the other one, we just want to tighten as much as possible. And If you have a partner who may be a little bit stronger, you may want them to do this part or just come check it for you to make sure that you've really gotten it as tight as you can. You definitely want to line your wrenches up and kind of use like almost a scissor motion to get these tight enough. If you try to do them opposite, you're not going to have as much leverage and strength. So let's see, Corey, do you want to check this? Let me see if I can get another little rotation out of it. Okay. Put the wrench on here. I don't think I can get more. Let's see.
You gotta walk us through it before you.
So we're just gonna kind of clock this back up. And it's easier if you put your wrenches almost side by side because you can get better torque out of it, better grip on your wrenches. That's pretty tight.
Sweet.
So we're just gonna spin that right back around and just leave it like that. So we can go ahead and remove these because we will not be using these. The faucets are either going to come with their own water lines, or we're going to supply you a braided water line that's going to screw on there. So these are for like copper lines or like a Pauling line, but we will not be using these. So you can remove these off your valves. And another important thing, after you get these installed, you're going to want to shut the valves off. So when we do, it's kind of a good practice. So if you're working on anything, you want to shut them off so that when the water is supplied, you're not going to, have a surprise or start flooding your house. If the lines or the faucets are not hooked up, you don't want to start spraying water everywhere. So it's just a good practice to go ahead and shut them off now.
I'm Jasper. I'm filling in for JC. He's not here today. We're getting ready to do flooring. So the first thing we're going to do is cut this little piece right here so that we can slide this piece of flooring underneath and we don't have to like notch it out.
How does that feel?
It definitely is clearing it. There might be other things that are preventing it from going forward, like may have to make a cut where it goes underneath here too, but it looks like it might be fine. And now we're going to do the other side. Just making sure it fits underneath, which it does.
All right, so we are just about ready to start working on our floor. So Jasper and I have spent the last 20 minutes prepping everything, cleaning it, and getting it really ready so that when we do the floor, we can only do the floor and we can go really quickly and make sure there's no high spots, there's no low spots, nothing weird, and we can get this banged out. We're hoping, I don't know, 45 minutes, maybe?
Shooting for that. So Corey showed me a better way to do this. You take a piece of, it could be a piece of scrap or...
No, we're going to Jasper because I was talking. So
Oh, okay.
I was actually imitating Dylan and his sounds.
Nice.
Okay.
Very accurate.
Focus, focus. Okay, Jasper, go ahead and talk nice and strong, okay?
So Corey showed me a better way to do this. You can take a piece of scrap or a full piece, it doesn't really matter. You slide it in here, and then what you do is you just take your oscillator and cut right here so that it makes a nice cut, and then this piece will come right up to your board.
So you're basically using the board as a guide or a jig.
Yeah, basically.
So we are getting ready to lay our first flooring. And what we're going to do is 3 rows at a time. And then we're gonna get that flush with this little door lip that we had to cut out and make sure we have our spacing against the wall. So I've cut our second piece. So we're cutting these in thirds. So we have a 32-inch piece, and then we'll have a 16-inch piece that'll go next to that, but not this piece because it's on the wrong side.
What about delegating duties? Are you the cutter and Jasper is the one laying it all down?
Yes, I haven't done this very much yet, so we'll see how good I am at it. Hopefully I'm not too bad. I'm not super thrilled with my first cut, but I'll try to get them a little straighter. And then Jasper's going to be tapping them in and getting them all to line up. So we're going to try to work out a little system here. Yeah, so we should be able to get that second row in now, and then the third one, and then we'll keep. Yeah, so then that will be the next piece.
Yep. Okay.
We can straighten it out too. It's a bit more.
Okay, cool. So the first thing to remember is that we're gonna be ending our flooring right here where the subfloor ends. Not all the way to the outside of the sheeting, but right here where the subfloor ends. And then yeah, the pieces just snap together. You want to get it close, but not too close. And you kind of just lift it up so it goes in. You see I got this piece a little too close
Oh, you want a full piece there.
to the next one. Or you know what, actually I have it backwards. So these cuts have to actually go the other way.
Oh, do we need to switch them?
Yes, so I need
Oh,
the
okay.
other side.
Oh, I
of
have
this
those also. But you want to put a full piece there.
Oh, right.
The 16 inches for the next.
Right.
So
Okay,
that's
so this is,
these are
for here.
cut pieces.
okay,
yeah.
cool. So that's the other thing about the layout, is that we do thirds so that it looks nice and like evenly staggered. So you're gonna start with a full piece. The next is gonna be a 32-inch piece. And then on the third row down, it's gonna be a 16-inch piece. And then just full to the end, obviously, and then a cut at the end.
That's not a full piece. Let me trade you. Here you go.
Thank you.
It looks good now.
I'm just making sure all the first pieces are laying flat and connecting evenly with each other, so that as we continue down, it's going to be straight and you don't run into any gaps because it all has to go perfectly together. It's a floating floor.
I'm just gonna fling this out here.
Okay, so we're going to start our third row. Yeah, so we have our cut edge right here. This is the factory side, so it can connect to the next piece. Basically, if you just get it lined up, there's a lip on the top and the side, so you need to make sure that it's going in this way first and that you have it lined up just right. So it can snap in there. All right, so as I was moving down here, getting ready to lay the next one, I found this little chip in this piece of flooring, so you have to replace that. So I'm just gonna take this one out all the way down to there so I can put a new one in here.
They have to be perfect.
Yeah, they need to be perfect. It's gonna be very noticeable. You can see, like, if I just line this one up, it looks like there's a giant chip, which there is. So yeah.
And Jasper, so it's kind of like a domino effect, right? With that one chip piece, you have to backtrack, and then that affects everything else you've done, right?
Yeah, so it is good to inspect your pieces before you put them in and make sure there's no cosmetic issues, because it's better to find it before you have your whole floor laid out and having to rip up your whole floor.
I am taping spacers onto the wall here so that these will provide basically an area for expansion and keep the flooring just a little bit away from the edge of the wall. And that way, if there is expansion, you're not going to get the flooring buckling across the kitchen. It'll have room to expand. So we'll pull these out after we're done. These are just going to keep the flooring just a little bit away from the wall as we do our long run across the house. So there's just a tiny gap on these between the two, between the first piece and the second piece.
So right here it's flush, but down here there's a little gap, and vice versa. If I make it flush here, there's a little gap here. So that means there's something else going on in the rest of the pieces that's causing that.
This is where you take a moment to figure out what else.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm stopping and I'm looking at the way that these are all connecting and trying to see where it's off and what's causing this to happen.
There's like a very slight gap expansion here, but it's super, like you can barely see it even.
I'm gonna see if a different piece changes anything. We'll get these first 3 rows all the way to here, then make sure it's they're like all in straight, this whole set of 3 rows, and then we'll just be able to pop the whole rest of the floor in like pretty fast.
Yeah, so just at the end, he's gonna need some specific sizes. So just cutting him a couple more end pieces so he can knock those in. Yeah. I have not mastered this. Luckily, this end piece is going to be hidden under some trim boards, so hopefully my wild cuts will not show. All right. 41 1/8.
Yep. Yes, it's not sitting quite right.
Oh,
Unless I have something else I can use to pry it out. Yeah, these are specific cuts, so you just have to take a measurement once you get to this last piece and cut it to that.
I'm gonna sweep and vacuum. Even though we've cleaned this floor, I don't know how many times at this point, but it's still really dusty. There's still little, granular things. So as we're going, I don't know if you could see this debris and stuff that's coming up. So I'm just gonna vacuum just ahead of him so we don't get any bumps in the floor.
Yep, even the tiniest little crumb can mess up the whole floor, so it has to be really clean.
So we are cutting a couple little pieces. So this is going to be where this hallway kind of lines up right here. You can see we have that little lip going around the corner. So that's what this piece is going to be. And then Jasper is cutting out the end of his piece over there to fit around the cabinet. So we're going to use the oscillating tool for this. For this other side right here, so you've used the oscillating tool to cut it horizontally, and then for the vertical cut, we're just going to score it, and it should just snap off. And we will have trim covering this piece, and trim will be covering this piece as well. So it's not the most beautiful, perfect cut, but it will not show.
We are going to see if this fits and put it in.
Might have done it too tight.
It's a little too tight,
Yeah,
so we're going to shave a little bit off.
Just do that with the oscillating tool, because I don't think I could snap that tiny bit of an amount. We're going to use a different saw for
Yeah, you
this.
can use a circular saw, give you a little more control, and cuts better.
Yeah, you can see it's eating it up, and I'm getting a ton of vibration, so the tool is just like zigzagging back and forth, and I don't want to mess up this part of the wood, so I'm going to use a different tool.
Yeah, so tips and tricks when you're installing a full piece, or any piece really. You can slide it into here. and kind of slide it back and forth. That way any debris will come out. So we're gonna slide this piece in like this, line it up, and then you wanna hit it starting from this corner right here and go outward. That way this corner doesn't pop up. Yeah, so once you get under here, you're gonna have a full piece and a short piece. So it's kind of hard to hammer this little piece in once you get there. So you can measure it out, cut it, and put them together and hit it as in, and then you put it in as one piece.
Is that the wrong side?
No. Just a little big. I can just cut it down with the saw.
So these pieces that are cut on both sides, these are trash. You can't really use these. You can't butt join them together. However, all of these pieces that still have a little lip that are from leftovers from where you started, those can be used as end pieces. So we're trying to fit them together. And so actually that's what I gave Jasper, is I had a piece. Looks like it's just about the same size as the one he needs. So he's going to fit that in there in the corner, and then we don't have to cut off a bunch of ends out of the long pieces. And so we can maximize the long pieces as much as possible. Is the wall straight? Because I feel like if you look at the lines, they're lined up. And I wonder if our wall is not straight. So we've been cutting our pieces the same length all along this wall. So you can see we've got this little piece right here. This is our shortest piece. And I cut a piece that's exactly the same length. But as we're going along, we see that our wall kind of bows out. And even though we're using our 1/4-inch spacers, we're getting further and further away from this wall. Oh, the tape is not sticky anymore, so that's not a good example. I'll just get one here. So over here, perfect. But as I move down the wall, it starts, do you see that gap? And by the time that I had put this one, which is the exact same size, and lined it up, that gap starts getting, see, really substantial. So I'm just going to cut a piece that's slightly longer to kind of bring it along the curve of the wall and make sure that we don't have a gap in our flooring when we put the baseboard down.
So with the flooring's a floating floor. So you have to leave a 1/4-inch gap for the floor to be able to float, expand and contract as the weather comes and goes. And you're looking for joints in the plank flooring to be tight and level. And you're just looking for cuts to be nice and even and just overall finished look. So as you look here, you're looking, and as we start over here where they started, you can see they have a nice, their gap is underneath the drywall. We have a 1/4-inch under there, which makes, if we open the door, you can look right here, look at their door. That goes right under there, but still has the ability to float and move. Makes it a really nice finish. You don't have to caulk, you don't have to do anything. It's just going to be right under that threshold. Also, as you look at these joints. These joints are nice and tight. There's no gaps in them, and they're nice and level. And that's what you're looking for, just to make it look like a wood floor. And that's what this vinyl plank is for. Also, another thing you're looking for is the pattern, because your patterns you want to match. So I'm going to move this out of the way real quick. It's kind of in the way. We're going to look right here at the pattern. And your first one is a full piece. Comes all the way down. Then we're going to do 2/3 of a piece and then 1/3 of a piece. And then you're going to repeat that pattern. So then when we connect to the other building, the bathroom unit, we'll have that same pattern going the other way. And it'll just look really nice as we match up the two homes. So you follow that pattern, full piece, 2/3, third, full piece, 2/3, third. That's critical to the layout on the flooring.
And how did they do here with the full piece, 2/3, third?
It looks fantastic. You can see that pattern throughout. There's no railroading of joints happening. And so this will be a nice solid floor. They have a nice edge underneath their cabinets. The cabinets all get a kick plate put on them, which will hide that little gap that is there. They've done a really nice job, and they won't put any more flooring under the oven. We won't do the stove. And they just have this one little piece left to cut. And they'll continue the pattern. So down here, they started with a third. So the next piece will be a full piece. And then they'll put in the rest of full pieces.
Overall assessment.
Overall assessment, they did a very good job. It looks really nice. And whoever gets this home will be pleased with the flooring.